Hello, welcome to the Healthy Alternatives podcast. I am Dr. Christine Sauer with DocChristine.com. Today's show is a recording of my radio show of the same name. Enjoy! Good afternoon, this is Dr. Christine Sauer, your host of the show Healthy Alternatives, here on 97.5 CIOE FM with live stream on communityradio.ca every Thursday at 12 noon Atlantic Standard Time. Thanks for tuning in today. In this show, I will talk, mostly with guests, about all aspects of health, healthcare and wellness, from conventional to alternative and everything in between. My mission for this radio show is to help change people's lives for the better by informing them about different options to get and stay healthy and well so they can choose for themselves which option might work in their case. And if you feel you're stuck in a dark place, I want to tell you, there is a light at the end of the tunnel. And today I'm very pleased to be with Alain Cormier, who is an elevated lifestyle coach. He's part of a growing team of coaches at Elevated Academy, who believes that by living a life that embodies courage, compassion, wisdom, humility, and unconditional love, you will create whatever you desire to experience in your life. I really like that definition, Alain. It's really nice. Now tell me a little bit about how you got into being an elevated lifestyle coach, and what is it?
So I became a coach by meeting the right person at the right time. Ricky Goodall is the founder of Elevated Academy, and there's some truth to the saying that when the student is ready, the teacher will arrive. And so Ricky is engaged to my third cousin, and so we met at a family party and we just started talking about personal development, spirituality, and I didn't know too much about him, but then he started sharing his vision, a vision that he had with me of creating a network of coaches, and where each coach kind of has their own special skill set based on their experiences and what life has taught them. And there was no coach under him at the time, so I was the first one to trust him and hop on board. And it's been growing really nicely. There's 5 of us right now, and some new coaches coming up through the program as well. So for me, it was just meeting the right person at the right time, and it was something that I felt called to do anyways, to help people to create the life that they really desire to experience.
Now that is quite interesting, and since my listeners can't see you, you are still a young guy. So how did you get at that young age to be interested in personal development instead of just, I want to make career?
Yeah, that's a good question. As soon as I left high school, I wasn't sure what I wanted to do with my life and what career path I wanted to pursue, but I was always called to work with people, help people, and I quickly found out I had gifts to, I was really able to pull out the best out of people. I have some experience in sports coaching, and I really had some good success there. So I tried university, and I did a few years there. I was going to become a teacher, and then I realized that I wasn't there for the right reasons, and that career I would have been okay with it, but it wouldn't have been completely fulfilling. Mm-hmm. So I took some time away from university, and that's when I was really I kind of fell in a dark place, like most of us do. You know, the old saying, the dark night of the soul kind of came upon me, and I got struck with severe anxiety and panic attacks, and that led to depression. And from there, I needed a way out. So I started on my own journey of personal development, which started by reading a book called Train Your Mind, Change Your Brain. I forget who the author is, but that book just totally sent me in a new direction of healing and empowerment. The book really talked about meditation and how meditation, so training the mind, can literally rewire your brain. And that was like the light I needed at that time. So I figured that, I need to do some mental training of my own. And I would meditate 2 to 3 times a day for 5 to 10 minutes at the start. It was very difficult to start. I wouldn't really get in a deep meditative state right away, but it was a battle that led me to healing eventually. So, and then ever since then, I've been on my own spiritual path and my own path of personal development. And as I said earlier, when I was ready, I moved to Halifax. I felt pulled to move to Halifax, and it's been good because I met the right people and have been on this path ever since for the last couple of years. Yeah.
Now, you said you moved to Halifax. Where were you before?
I spent my early childhood in Capelay, New Brunswick. I went to high school in Shediac, New Brunswick. I lived in Moncton, so southeastern New Brunswick's where I spent most of my life. So it wasn't too big of a move, but there was just something really pulling me towards Halifax, and the circumstances all aligned. So it seemed like it was a move that was meant to be. And looking back, it really, really was.
Yeah, and I really believe that there's moments in our life when we have to follow that little inner voice in us, and that leads to some change that in the end turns out really beneficial. We just don't know it at the time, maybe. And I've experienced it myself. I call it synchronicity.
Yeah.
That led me to Halifax from Germany, which is a little bigger move, but still a change.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that is fascinating. Now tell me a little bit about what you do now and what you like to do, what your goals and dreams are.
Yeah. With the lifestyle coaching, I aim to empower people to step into their authenticity. And one of the topics I want to touch on today that we'll talk about shortly is to follow your bliss. And that's what led me to living the life I'm living right now. I wasn't fully conscious that I was following my bliss. I felt at times that I was going against the grain and that I was just being a rebel and really not surrendering to the system, so to speak. But what I was really doing, looking back, is following my bliss. And if it wasn't exciting for me, if it wasn't completely fulfilling, I wouldn't keep going in that direction. And I would try something different, try something else. And by fearlessly and courageously trying new things, I eventually ended up on a path that does bring me fulfillment. And another thing I'm really excited about that's going on in my life right now is I created a mental state group coaching program for young athletes, and with a good friend of mine, Grant Hatcher, who's a meditation teacher and hypnotherapist, and we paired together to create this program to offer to the young athletes of the HRM area. So we aim to empower young minds to really step into their power, because I've been there and I felt lost and confused. And if I can offer the guidance and the lessons that I received on my path and through my darkness to these youths, so that they don't have to go through what I went through, that's kind of what we aim to do. And we're going to use sports as a platform for that.
That is very interesting and very wonderful, really, that you at relatively young age went through that and came to that conclusion before really your life went in a direction that you might regret later on.
Right, yeah, exactly.
And now let's define a little bit more what you mean by bliss, because some people define bliss, oh, that's an orgasm. That's not what we mean. But how do you define bliss?
The experience of bliss, the way I see it and understand it, is it's the result of living life aligned with your heart's desire, or living life aligned with your purpose, so to speak. And it's simple to follow your bliss. It's just go towards what excites you and do things that excite you, and do it often. And if you don't know what excites you, then try new things. Just really be curious and find out what you don't like, so that you can end up finding out what you do like. The reason I think it's so important, looking back on my life and the way that everything unfolded, is because following your bliss really, at the end of the day, is a healing journey. It really requires a lot of courage, and it requires to try new things when we're so stuck in our own ways, and when everyone around us doesn't seem to be doing that. It takes a lot of courage, and you really need to overcome some of your fears to live a life where you follow your bliss. So as simple as it may sound, it can require a lot of courage and fearlessness. But I think it's really, I don't want to say the only way, but it's a really good way of living your life if you want to create a life of fulfillment and meaning.
And I couldn't agree more, because many people nowadays lack purpose in their life.
Yeah.
They live from one day to the next, paycheck to paycheck, and at the end of their life, and I did volunteer in the VG and the palliative care, those people don't say, oh, I wished I worked more. No, they say, I wish I had taken a risk and really followed what I knew I wanted to do. And then when they're at the end of their life, it's too late. So I love that you do that with young people that are really at the beginning of their life, in a way, just starting to think about all the different options and combining it with sports. So I think a great way to actually get to them. Because many, when you say, oh, you have to follow your bliss, they say, ba, ba, ba.
Yeah, it sounds like airy-fairy stuff that like it sounds nice, but it doesn't really, to a lot of people, it doesn't really mean anything. And I think to a lot of people, it's that they, if you tell someone to live a life of fulfillment and meaning and purpose, you have to follow your bliss, but this person has not done that in their life, then it creates a bit of dissonance in them. And that those are the people that will kind of shun that idea. And I think the youth are going to be more receptive to this kind of idea. And I truly believe that we are so unique. Every single one of us is so unique. And the contributions that we can bring to society and to the world are as unique as we are. And we can't fit in boxes. Like there are some obvious lacks in the school system and in the whole structure of society today. And I don't think that anyone can fit in a box and decide I want to be a lawyer, I want to be a doctor, I want to be this or that. And as great as some of those professions are, and that they do bring purpose and meaning, if it's not aligned with who you really are at your core, you're not going to find that. You're not going to end up. It's not going to be a journey of bliss in the end. You're not going to end up being completely aligned with your authentic expression.
And I understand that very well. Being a conventional doctor in Germany, it was great to be able to help people, but there were many aspects that were not great. And yes, every job has something that you don't like with it. There will be always something. And we do have to pay the bills in our society, which is a shame, but that's life. But I believe, and I completely agree with you, that it's many people only look at the money aspect and say, oh, I want to make big money, then I'll be happy. And that just doesn't materialize. And that is a good break for our first half. Brings us to the end of the first half, and please tune in after the commercial break for more about the elevated lifestyle with Alain Cormier. Thank you. Hello and welcome back to Healthy Alternatives here on 97.5 CIOE FM or in the web at communityradio.ca. I'm your host, Dr. Christine Sauer, and today I'm talking with Alain Cormier, an elevated lifestyle coach. Thanks for being back. In the first half, we talked a little bit about following your bliss, and that is a wonderful concept when you define it right. So maybe you talk a little bit more about it, what exactly that means, follow your bliss, and what we do instead often.
So following your bliss is, I think we touched on just briefly at the start of the show, is the experience of bliss is the result of living in alignment with your purpose. And I think it can really only be achieved by living a life of fulfillment. You can't fake the experience of bliss. So it's a courageous journey into expressing life as only you can. We're so unique, and we all have unique contributions to bring to the world. And we live in a society that doesn't really support the blossoming of these unique potentials that we all have. So we end up seeking comfort and security. And for a few reasons. One is societal conditioning. I believe that because we're born into a world where everyone seems to be seeking comfort and security. Likely my parents lived a very good life, but they kind of took what life offered to them instead of going and creating what they really wanted to experience. So that's a very popular theme, a very popular way of living your life in our society today. And I think from a very young age, we're also, we kind of we're born into a very stressful, high-paced world. As infants, we kind of take on the stress of our environment, which leaves us feeling traumatized and scared. And so from a very, very young age, even before we can speak and before we can understand the world around us, we end up seeking comfort and security. Because for example, if I do a certain thing, there's a certain behavior that I do as an infant, and it doesn't get me the love that I need in that moment, I'm going to suppress that aspect of myself so that I get that comfort and that security. So because we feel traumatized and we go through those scary, stressful experiences as infants, we're conditioned or neurologically conditioned to seek comfort and security from our parents and from our family and our support system. And then that also manifests as when we're older and we're looking to create a life for ourselves and looking to step into a career.
I find often in children nowadays, they get overscheduled. They are all the time at some event. They don't have time for their own creativity to really do what they, in the moment, feel they want. And I don't agree with young children playing video games. They should create something, even if it's a little brick tower or whatever.
Yeah, there's so much importance in freedom of expression, and unfortunately, right now for most children, most kids growing up, that's not the world we're born into. And video games are on the rise, and like I think there's some value to video games for certain like neurological development or whatnot, but there needs to be kids need to be encouraged to pursue whatever they desire in that moment, even if they don't know why they want to do this, even if the parent doesn't understand why does the child want to do this. It's very, very important for the child to be encouraged and allowed to explore whatever avenue they want, because otherwise that if they don't feel comfortable or supported in exploring what they really want to be expressing, then they're suppressing aspects of themselves. They're not living authentically, and that has consequences in the long term.
And many of us as children got not unconditional love, but conditional love. Yeah. As long as we fit in the box and in the drawers they opened for us, we got loved and supported. And as soon as we tried something that maybe the parents didn't agree with, booms.
Exactly, and that's exactly what I meant when I said that there's certain aspects of our authentic expression that get suppressed, because if I do this, I don't get love. I'm not loved unconditionally no matter what. If I do this, I don't get love. I can't do this anymore. If a child is naturally very funny and energetic, but being funny and energetic doesn't get them the love that they need, because we need that nurturing, we need that attachment, we need that love. Well, maybe I can't be funny and energetic because it's not allowed.
Right,
everyone else around me doesn't do that, so I'll do what's comfortable. I'll do what's safe and secure.
Yeah. And for children, that's a necessity. They depend physically on the parents, so they have to do that.
Yeah.
And when we get older, it's sometimes hard to move out of that rut and give ourselves what we need to flourish, like you said. So let me know how anyone can and should start following their bliss.
I would start with practicing courage.
That's a good one.
Because courage is such a requirement for living a life where you follow your bliss and you go and do things that excite you and try new things.
And do things in spite of them scaring you, as long as they're not dangerous to your life.
Yeah,
I agree.
Yeah, exactly. And I think that, as we talked about, we grow up in this, we create this comfort bubble. and we're kind of conditioned and taught that you need to live within this bubble. So when it comes time to, when someone wakes up and wants to experience more of life, they need to expand that comfort zone and to do things that are uncomfortable and can be fearful or scary. It requires courage. So practice courage in whatever small ways that you can. Even don't go for the big thing.
The big
right
dare.
away.
Don't jump down from the roof of a house just to show that you have courage. That's not courage. That's ridiculous.
Yeah, exactly. So start with practice courage too, but do little things so that you can feel that the result of that courage and see how expansive it is.
Give an example. What would courage be? Like in school, not to confront the bully or tell the other you did right when somebody does it. Is that courage, or what would you define?
Well, I would define, so what I'm referring to in more specifically when I talk about like practice courage, I'm thinking more of like an adult that stuck in a job that's not fulfilling, and maybe leading up to that job and creating that life, there was like promise of, oh, maybe there will be fulfillment and maybe I will, find that purpose out of the job. But after a while, it's become mundane and routine, and you feel stuck in that lifestyle. And deep down in your heart, you have a dream of playing music in front of people, because every time you come home, maybe you just take your guitar and you escape into this like super expansive state of being with your music. And so maybe part of your gift is to create music and share it with the world. So courage for this person would be to go find an open mic somewhere and play music in front of people for the first time, and really have that experience of, when I follow my bliss, when I do something that excites me, even if it's scary, I feel amazing.
Yeah.
So that to me would be a good example for someone to start practicing courage in order to move towards things that really excite them at their core.
And I really think that our youth has to be told that courage can be positive, and it's not dare to try every pill that you get from somebody. That's not courage. That's, sorry to say that, that's stupid.
Yeah.
And they do that, they think, oh, I do something by myself. I do something my parents wouldn't agree with.
Yeah, I think that's so present in the youth today, because it's like a way of, there's been so much suppression of our own identity and our own self, because we're kind of conditioned and taught, like we've been talking about, to seek comfort and stay within this box, and we just become like a contracted, shelled up version of ourselves. And I think the kids who explore whatever presents themselves, even if they know it's bad, it's just a way of rebelling. It's a way of being like, oh yeah, well, watch me, watch what I can do.
Right.
This is like,
right.
And it's kind of it's a way of exploring who they really are.
Yeah.
Because their authentic self has been suppressed at some point growing up.
I really like that idea. And I think there's two ways to react to that being suppressed. One way is the depression. That's why the depression rate goes up like crazy in young people. And it's very sad when young people feels the need, the only way out is to kill themselves. That is really sad, because they should have met you before.
Or me or many others.
Yes,
I mean,
yes.
I know a bit about your story, and you went through some dark times as well. And,
I sure did.
So meeting someone like you as well would have been beneficial.
Somebody that is encouragement, uplifting, and sees the potential. And that is a wonderful, wonderful thing to give to a young person. And I really enjoy that you're working with young people and helping them to encourage them to follow their bliss. No excuses.
No, there's no excuses. Yeah. And a message to, part of the message I want to communicate with parents, and especially even in the program, we call it's in the zone coaching, this mental program that I'm about to embark with my friend Grant. So the message is for parents to support that kind of journey for their children.
I really like that.
Even if the parents didn't have that kind of upbringing, it's so important for them to understand that they should create an environment for their children where they are free to explore and free to try whatever they want.
That really sounds nice, really nice. And the limits that they have to set is just for safety, not for limit their mind. And I love that. What's your website, Alain?
The website for In the Zone Coaching is just about to be launched, and elevatedacademy.org is the website for the personal life coaching that I do.
That's wonderful. Yeah. And that brings me to the end of today's show. Please don't hesitate to contact me with any questions, thoughts, comments, or suggestions. Or if you'd like to contact Alain, I'll be happy to reach your email further. My email here is Christine, CHRISTINE @communityradio.ca. Or you can contact me through my website, drchristine.com. And I'm always grateful for any feedback. Thanks so much, Alain, to be on the show today. I think it was a great show, and I hope many young people hear it. Yeah. I also want to thank a special thank you to today's producer, Jim Francis, and his lovely helper, Hannah. You might not know this, but this is a volunteer-run non-profit radio station. Thanks all for listening to Healthy Alternatives. I'm your host, Dr. Christine Sauer. Tune in next Thursday at noon on 97.5 CIOE-FM, community radio with live stream on communityradio.ca for the next episode. Goodbye and have a great day.